Hey guys, so this is my late 50s Necchi BU Mira. It's an Italian-made class 15 oscillating hook machine, basically just meaning that it uses class 15 size bobbins. And the hook, it's an oscillating hook, so it rocks back and forth as opposed to spinning like some of the other machines. That's what the oscillating hook means. It's pretty much the top of the line straight / zigzag machine from this era. Something on par with, say, something like the Pfaff 130 or an Adler 189, 153, any of those other models. But I think it has a few design features that kind of separate it from the rest. And I'd actually prefer this machine for a lot of applications over, say, something like a Pfaff 130, even though this Pfaff 130 is the machine that I use. The only reason why I use this and have chosen it over the Necci BU line is because I have some industrial Pfaffs that use the same bobbin size as the 130, and there's a overlap in parts. So for me, it just makes sense to use the Pfaff 130 and has some consistency there with my machines. But in terms of function and durability, I think the Necchi is the way to go. It's almost like the Italians they took some pointers from the Germans on certain design elements and the Americans from the Singer line and incorporated all the really good things about those machines, built them into this, and then made some design improvements of their own to really make this kind of a standout machine. Some of the design features, if you're looking at a Pfaff 130, you need to keep in mind that these machines they are rotary hook, and they use a cleated nylon belt. You can see it right here. Now the problem with the nylon belts is you oil the machine with sewing oil, but as you oil it, oftentimes they were over oiled and the belts would absorb the sewing machine oil, and because they're a nylon product, over the course of 50-60 years, the oil actually breaks the nylon fibers down, and a lot of those belts end up breaking and fraying. And once they're broken, that's it. They're done. You cannot get a replacement. I've seen one guy on eBay selling them, but he's selling them for around $150 for a replacement belt. And that's a huge price to pay for a machine. Maybe worth a few $100, a couple $100. So this machine is all metal internals. It uses an oscillating hook, so you can see here there's no belt on it, and it has a vertical hook, so you can use heavier weight thread as opposed to a horizontal hook, which is good. It disassembles. Everything about this machine is really well thought out. The bobbin and the hook components all can be taken out tool free. They have little spring latches that you pop open, and you can take the whole hook out as opposed to having to unscrew everything and deal with the time. You can't do that on a Pfaff. If you want to clean the hook, you have to pull the hook out, but then you have to adjust the timing and everything, so it's difficult. With the Necchi, everything comes apart easily. It also has a quick removing needle plate. Let's see if I can. So you move the slide plate cover, and that comes right off for easy access for cleaning and maintenance, which you should do. And it's just a really precise machine. It has oil ports instead of open holes like the Singer. It has a similar mechanism to the Pfaff, where it has little oil ports that are with spring-loaded ball bearings here. Basically, it keeps the lint out and debris out, so it keeps the interior of the machine clean. So you put a drop of oil in this recessed area here, you depress the bearing, and the oil goes down onto the necessary parts. This prevents you from over-oiling the machine, which is a problem, but it also keeps the interior of the machine clean. So that's a cool feature. Some of the things that differentiate the Mira from the BU Nova in the BU line is that it has a 2-speed motor. It's still 1.1 amp, 5,000 RPM, so it's really powerful, really fast, but it has a high and low speed control on it. It has an integrated light that has a switch on the side of the motor assembly there, so you can see the light comes directly above the needle as opposed to behind the bed of the machine, so you have better lighting. And probably the biggest thing is the Wonder Wheel, which allows you to do a variety of decorative stitches, and it uses cams to accomplish that. There are 4 cams. They're double-sided. I have all 4. Here you can see. So this is the wheel that helps you figure out what does what. So there's a little legend here that shows you what all the parts stand for and everything. And basically you can go through and select any of the decorative stitches on the wheel. You rotate it around and it will give you the settings that you need to accomplish that stitch. So that's cool. Personally, I don't use the decorative stitches. I more use the machine for utility stitches like straight, zigzag, and bar tacking. But if you want to do it for, like, say, quilting or any decorative pieces, it'll do it. So that was actually one of the things that led to kind of a fall in sales for the Pfaff 130, is that it couldn't do decorative stitches. And then Pfaff tried to stay competitive by adding basically a coffee grinder attachment onto the back, is what it's referred to. But it was noisy and bulky, and it wasn't as effective as, say, something like the wheel. So basically there's little bars that connect to these cams. You push the wheel up against the hand wheel here, and you connect these bars, and the cam, as this rotates, it rotates the cam around, and the cam controls the movement of these bars. So that's how the decorative stitches are accomplished. Some of the other really kind of cool features on this, I showed you the removable needle plate and hook assembly, quick release. It has an automatic bobbin winder here that disengages when the bobbin's full. The Wonder Wheel, which is removable, which I removed it when I used the machine because it was just, for me, it was just something that was in the way and I never used it. But if you don't feel like you're going to use it, it comes off with one screw, so it's easy to pull off. The thing that I really like about these Neckis is this stitch length adjustment lever. It uses a lever similar to most of the other machines, up and down. Down being forward and up being reversed. But you can see it has these little dials right here. And this allows you to really finely tune the stitch length. So on the left they show you increments in millimeters, so 0 through 4 millimeter stitch length, and then on the right they show you a relative stitch length, which is relative to stitches per inch. So 25 stitches per inch or 6 stitches per inch, which is comparable to 4 millimeters. And the thing that's so special about this is, one is it's really precise, but it has a little knob on the bottom here. I'll raise it up so you can see it. So you can see that as I move the lever, these dials move with it. And once you get to 0, then they swap. But basically when you dial in your stitch up above using that dial, and then you tighten the knob down, and it will lock that stitch length in place. So now you'll notice when I move the lever, those dials don't move, those indicators don't move. And now you have forward and reverse that match exactly for your stitch length. So you can, your forward and reverse will match perfectly. So you can bar tack, and you can lock your stitches beginning and end with the exact stitch length. So no other machine out there has that kind of precision. If you look at something like the Pfaff 130, it has a little knob that you rotate around and you try to move it, and it has play, and I have always had trouble getting forward and reverse stitch lengths to be consistent on this setup. This one, perfect every single time, just because of the way that it's engineered. It has a needle positioning lever, left, right, and center, and you can actually move these like right in between. If you're trying to really line something up, or you're doing some parallel stitches and you want them really closely spaced, you can move it in between and it'll get close. Pfaff 130 doesn't have that. You kind of have to go up and down, and you only have three spots that you can put the needle position. So that's a neat feature. The other thing is it's got a wider stitch width. It'll go up to 5 millimeters in width on the zigzag, and you can actually lock the stitch length in place, the maximum stitch length in place. So you can go from 0 straight stitch back to, and lock it in place at 3 millimeters stitch width, and then go back, do your straight. So it helps when you're doing series of bar tacking. where you're going to do a narrower stitch width. So if you're doing a piece where you're having multiple sections of bar tacks, you can make sure that all the stitch widths are exactly the same. You don't have to try to line it up like you would on, say, something like a Pfaff 130, where you have to kind of hope that you get back to the same spot. This, you're guaranteed every time. So that's a cool feature. The adjustments, everything that you can adjust on this, there's an indicator for. So you saw on the stitch width, stitch length, the tension. They use a really fine threading on this, so you can adjust the thread tension on the upper part and get it really precise. And there's a little dial here with an indicator that shows you exactly where you're at. So depending on the different thicknesses of material that you're working with, after a little bit of trial and error, you'll know exactly where that needs to be, and you can dial it back in perfectly. Something like the Pfaff, it's not as precise. You kind of have these numbered dials on the top, and it's not as good. This is super precise. Same with the presser foot tension. You have the dial up top, and then you have the indicator on the side. The Pfaff and Singers, none of them have this. So you're just kind of guessing. You're having to go by feel every time. Whereas this, you can dial it in. You know where you're at. If you make any adjustments, you can always go back to where you were. So that's a cool thing. So let's just get started sewing on it, and I'll show you how it performs. Initially, I was a little skeptical of the Neckis before I picked one up, because it is an oscillating hook machine, and in my experience, the oscillating hook machines have a little bit more movement. Because I don't know, they just didn't feel as smooth to me. Like, I've had oscillating hook industrial machines and home sewing machines from Singer. They just don't feel as smooth. So I was kind of discouraged against that whole design, but after using the Necchi, I realized it was just specific to those machines. This is actually super smooth. I'd say it's as smooth as any of the rotary hook machines that I have, without any of the shortcomings like the cleated belts. So I'll start here. Let's do let's just do a straight stitch at 8 stitches per inch, or 3 millimeters. And I'll just lock it in place here. And you can see how smooth. Oh, I have the Wonder Wheel engaged. You can see how smooth it is. Then you can go to zigzag. That's 3, and you can go all the way as wide as 5. Shorten the stitch length. That's a really narrow stitch length. That's a little bit less than 25 stitches per inch. Then we'll go back down to straight stitch, increase the stitch length, try left position, right position, center again, zigzag. So you can see it's super smooth. The machine's really fast too, so 1.1 amp motor, it's a lot more powerful than your standard home sewing machine, modern machine motor, or even like some of the vintage Singers. The vintage Singer used about a 1/2 amp motor. This is more than double the power on it. The table I'm actually have the machine sitting in is just 3/4 inch plywood. It doesn't have any braces on the underside of it, so it's more of like you can see the movement of the table, just me shaking it. It's not the most stable a platform, so if you're going to have it in the case, it'll be a lot more stable. And if you can get a dedicated sewing table, I'd recommend it. Having this open, smooth surface is super nice. But you can see how fast it'll go. And it'll go in reverse, same thing. So it's a phenomenal machine. If you're going to be doing bags, making bags, heavy materials, this is definitely the way to go compared to a lot of the modern stuff. I have modern machines. I don't use them. I use pretty much only vintage machines, because the quality of the materials and the engineering and time that was invested into building these machines is just so much greater than any of this modern stuff. I mean, there really was a pride in production in these machines from this era, and these are designed to last a lifetime. I mean, now everything has like this designed obsolescence built in, and these things are just phenomenal. And you can get replacement motors for really cheap, just generic replacements that you can bolt on. I don't know. To me, this is really like the pinnacle of sewing machine engineering. So you can see the thing is just solid. This is 4 layers of canvas. Let me fold it over, I'll show you. It'll do 8 layers, no problem at all. So I'll fold it under. And you can see it just climbs right up as if there's nothing. Turn it around. Let's do a shorter stitch. Let's do 3mm stitch width, 25. Reverse, forward again. So if you're making bags or something, you're doing bar tacks. You know, a bar tack you would do, I'll show you. So you would do basically, you go to straight stitch, you go forward, reverse, forward again. Then you go to 3, then you do like a 3 stitch width. Let me lock it in place. Just to make it easier. So you lock that in place, then you go reverse, forward, and that's it. And then you create a really strong tack there, and you can even do narrower spacing. But I mean, this is 8 layers. The machine doesn't skip a beat and feeds really nicely. So yeah, there it is. It's the Necci BU Mira. Awesome machine if you're doing heavier duty applications, or if you just want something that will last, looks really cool, and will perform better than anything else you would buy on the market today. So thanks so much.